Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back in with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction Show, the show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news, matches, fixtures, transfers, everything, and of course get your reaction to in our live chat. Now, I may be looking a little bit more crisp to you, and that's because we have finally replaced the camera. Big thanks to Danny, the GFP, for helping me out with this one. But we're all sorted, clarity, nice and clear. You can see all the imperfections on my face. But I'm so happy that we're basically talking after what has been a nice reaction for the first time in a long time. After Arsenal lose points in games like they did against Watford at the weekend, often we have to wait a little bit longer, and usually it takes a little bit longer to see things sort of click into gear for Arsenal. But thankfully, today, we saw a really, really good performance from the boys and from some players which aren't really getting minutes for us so far this season, but the ones that didn't really stepped up today and got those 3 points for us in our Europa League first fixture against Eintracht Frankfurt. I went all for the German accent and completely messed that up. Eintracht Frankfurt in the Waldstadion, as I was told it was called by Brian, who is a part of our Eyes of the Opposition show, and in that we knew it was going to be a cauldron of noise. We knew it was going to be a really tough place to go, and it was. They definitely provided us with a challenge, and we're going to talk all about that very shortly. But first, let's say hello to everyone in our live chat. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, everyone, this evening. The first one in, David Logwood, thank you for tuning in. Kieran Nolan in there as well. Olo, Omar is in there as well. So many of you. Thank you ever so much for everyone that is tuning in this evening. I hope you enjoyed the game. We're going to get to some of your questions, some of your reactions too. But let's pick out some of the key points. So, positives. I don't think you can go anywhere in this game without talking about how good Saka was in this fixture. For me, we've been waiting to see him really explode for a little bit now. Martinelli was actually someone who I thought was going to start this game, and he didn't. Saka was chosen to play out wide, with Smith-rowe and Willock interchanging in advanced roles as well, usually more central players, but they sort of interchange with each other in more midfield roles going into an attacking vibe as well. But I think Saka was easily the standout player of this game, along with Emery Martinez, who I'll come on to in a second. But let's talk about, I mean, Saka was just an absolutely fantastic delight to watch in the game, was fantastically sort of eager to get as many chances for himself as feasibly possible. And he ended the game with a fantastic goal and 2 assists as well, setting up Willock for the first one and Aubameyang for the last one, interspersed between what was an absolutely brilliant curling effort into that bottom left-hand corner. For me, this now has to beg the question, does Saka start at the weekend? And that might seem rash. That might seem, oh, we're getting all hyped about this young 18-year-old. And I understand that. But you have to remember that Alexandre Lacazette is out. And we've got an issue that we don't really know how we're going to play our system. We tried to play with a diamond because it was felt by Unai Emery that we didn't really have enough from Nelson, for instance, or Martinelli, or even Saka at the time against Watford to play with that front three. Now, I think that there is a big, big opportunity now for Unai Emery to recognise what has been done by Saka and decide to play him in the front three with Pepe and Aubameyang in that game on Sunday against Aston Villa. Call me mad, call me rash, but I think it's definitely a chance. In my opinion, we need to be rewarding our youngsters when they put in those performances. And if there's an opportunity to bring someone in, I think that Saka is the perfect guy to bring in at this moment in time. He's hot form. He wants to continue that streak. He'll be absolutely burning with fire to try and get as many opportunities as he can against Aston Villa. And if he does get into that team, I think that's the best possible move forward that we could go for. Let's see. Tell me in the chat box, do you think Saka should be starting on Sunday against Aston Villa, or should we hold back, hold fire, not get too excited and keep a little bit more restraint? Let's see what you guys are thinking in terms of what's going to happen on Sunday. So, Xhaka had a great game and we're going to talk about Xhaka. Believe me, we really are. Let's focus a little bit on Bukayo Saka. Is it Bukayo? I think it is Bukayo, or it might be Bukayo. I always get it wrong. It's the one way around every single time. Saka is on job, says KS1. Kofi's very happy with him as well. Saka was man of the match, says Omar. Saka for me is someone who I knew that behind Nelson was going to find it a struggle to get into the Arsenal first team. He was someone in this side that, when you look at Arsenal's youth setup, has got quite a lot of traffic in his way to get into that first team. We signed Martinelli. We've brought back Nelson from a really, really positive loan spell at Hoffenheim. And so to get into this first team was always going to be a struggle, especially when considering Aubameyang's been pushed out to the left with Lacazette central and Pepe on the right. So if he gets a chance, he had to take it, and he definitely did that today. Just Our Chemical says that Saka, Alba and Pepe needs to be our front three on Sunday. Dean Joseph reckons that we should be playing him ASAP. And I think that there's a lot of people clearly that feel that he is the right guy. I'm not really seeing anything in terms of our chat here saying that we shouldn't be thinking about playing him. KY says Saka is a top lad, keep him starting. Dean Bevan says that play Saka over Nelson. Wang says Saka is better than Pepe, which is based on tonight, definitely so, but they had a lot more chances than the Ivorian did to get his name on the score sheet. But let's talk about the next guy, which Frank Gunner brings up there, which is Martinez. Emi Martinez coming in for Bernd Leno. We can, right, so this is how it's going to work. Unai Emery, we know that we're struggling to find out what his philosophy is, what his system is. But what I think we can glean from what we're seeing in these games is that if there is a style that Unai Emery is deploying this season, it is very much that we'll let you come on to us and we'll hit you on the counter. Now, against Watford, that meant that we completely capitulated defensively and made so many mistakes that that system was completely null and void. Against Frankfurt, we created a plethora of chances, ones that we missed, absolutely gilt-edged chance in the first half, and towards the end of the second half as well. We missed so many chances. This was 3-0, but it could have easily been 4, 5, 6, even 7 with the amount of amazing chances we created for ourselves. And that is mostly down to a few things. One is inexperience from players like Saka, like Willett, like Emil Smith-Rowe. And there is a case where you could say to Aubameyang really should have been putting away the chances that he was given, especially that one right at the end with that ball across. Chambers, his ball across from the middle, where he ended up touching it with his standing foot, I think, the Gabonese striker. That was an amazing chance. Then right at the end as well, where he just put that volley slightly left of the goalpost. And for me, Aubameyang is on fire. It was great for him to see him score again, keep that record going, keep his scoring form, keeping in that morale high after what was a really demoralising loss of points at the weekend. I think it was important that he did get that goal. And actually, if you'd asked me at the start of the game who would I'd rather have seen start, Pepe or Aubameyang, I probably would have gone with the former. I thought Pepe definitely needs a goal to add to his game. I think he needs to add that to his confidence. But starting Aubameyang was always going to be a risk. I put out before the game that the first starting lineup didn't really fill me with confidence in terms of how I thought Emery was going to bounce back. That wasn't in terms of I didn't think that the team was good enough to win the fixture. I just thought that we should have seen players like Martinelli and Nelson maybe given more of a chance. See Aubameyang taken out of the starting lineup and protected him for any possible injury, because any hope of us getting into top 4 will lie with Aubameyang, and we need to remember that. But let's talk about Martinez. That's the player that I did originally want to speak about. Now, this system in which we allow so much to come on to us means that we are going to face a lot of opposition chances. In fact, I have a quick look at the stats now from the game in terms of how many chances we actually made available to them. And they had 24 attempts. 24 attempts. And we think we gave Watford over 30, which is the most they've ever had in a Premier League game. And we had 16. But that was very different before the red card. We were only on about 7, 8 attempts before the red card happened. Then it did. Then we had much more of a grip in the game. And obviously, when Saka scored, that just let the floodgates open a bit more. But there is two sides to this. Yes, I understand that there's a style that if we can master the counter-attack in play, it's a very effective weapon. But at the same time, if we allow these teams to come onto us, allow these teams to attack us, and we find ourselves in vulnerable positions, we are going to concede silly goals like we did against Watford, and we are going to concede stupid chances which could lead to goals. And against the really, really top sides, this strategy is so risky that it almost puts us at a disadvantage in those games right from the off. So I'm still not sure. I say I'm not sure. I'm pretty darn sure at the moment. I don't think this is the style that Arsenal should be playing, by being so passive and so vulnerable and allowing ourselves to be attacked and then hitting teams on the break. I'm really not sure about it. But what I did see tonight was evidence of a much, much more solid defensive line. And what the amazing thing about that is that Shkodran Mustafi played. Now, Shkodran Mustafi is obviously a player that has basically should have been gone in the summer. We all know that. You know that. I know that Shkodran Mustafi should not be in the Arsenal football team right now. But with the players that have been playing like Sokratis and David Luiz, they've been making mistakes in games. Sokratis didn't even travel. He was rested. Mustafi came in and I thought was good. I thought he played well. I can't fault his performance, to be honest, in too many areas. I thought he was solid. I didn't think he made any rash decisions. I thought his delivery was good. And I thought that was fine. But I keep skipping over the point. I keep going to talk about Martinez and talking about something else, and see some of you are prompting me in the chat there. Martinez with the back four that played very well in front of him still had to face a lot of shots, and he dealt with them very, very well. Now, what I don't want to happen is what we find ourselves doing is something that, and we've already seen it with Saka, is that when a player has a really good performance, we're like, right, got to get him in that team. And I've said that exact same thing with Saka. Difference is, though, in this scenario is that already Bernd Leno, I think, has had a decent season this so far. I don't think that we should be taking Bernd Leno out of the starting lineup. Imagine what that would do for his confidence. Emi Martinez is a player that has a chance to prove himself in this season, has a chance to prove that he is up there to compete with Leno. But I don't think that comes from one good performance against Frankfurt. That needs to come from a position in which Leno plays the full season in the Premier League and we make a judgment. Martinez plays the cup games in the FA Cup, the League Cup and the Europa League, and we make a judgment on his fixtures. And for me, there's enough games and enough of a sample size to make a decision next season as to who should be our starting keeper. Even though we signed Leno for around 20 million quid, I really think that Martinez has the potential to be an Arsenal goalkeeper in the future. He's had some really decent loan spells and he's come back with the fight and the fire to really try and get his place and get his name after 9 years and only, I think, 14, 15 appearances into this Arsenal setup. And fair play to the guy, absolute fair play to the guy. So we're going to have to see, or wait and see what happens in terms of Martinez's future. Let's see what some more of you guys are saying before we move on. Kay says that Mustafi was very solid today. AAJ says that Martinez is like Romero at United. He's good, but not as good as what's in front of him. He's 26, says Harry Hull. Obviously, for a goalkeeper, that's slightly skewed. You think of a 26-year-old goalkeeper, you think of a 22-year-old player, and I know that doesn't make too much sense, but if you know what I mean, like they will go on a lot longer than what outfield players will. So 26, still not a bad age. He's not in a prime. Prime, you're looking at just over 30 for a goalkeeper, so that doesn't bother me in the slightest. Mogul says, not trying to be pessimistic, but the score sheet doesn't justify the game. Again, our defence was unorganised despite the clean sheet. Now, Marcus, I actually disagree with you. I know that we allowed a lot of chances to come onto us, but I actually thought that we dealt with a lot of that really, really well. I think the defence cleared things when they needed to. They blocked crosses. They stopped crosses at times, which was much better. They dealt with them really well when they did come in. I don't think we could be too critical of the defence in this game. Against Aston Villa, we're going to have to see. I'm not saying that Shkodran Mustafi should come into the first team, but I am suggesting that Callum Chambers should. Sokratis had an awful game against Watford, and we know that. Chambers had a very decent game, whilst not playing out and out as a centre-back, and he was out wide in certain times during the game. I think that Callum Chambers needs to be brought back into this team. He's disciplined, he doesn't make too many mistakes, and he's still young and full of potential, whereas we need to be working and developing a player like that. Sokratis is the wrong side of 30, and whilst his experience is invaluable at times, next to David Luiz is also a very experienced player, and I think Chambers can definitely gain something from that. Now, what was interesting, and sticking with the defence, is that Rob Holding didn't play. He wasn't in the squad either, even though he did travel. Now, he's been getting a fair amount of minutes in the under-23s and doing a lot in training. So it was surprising that we didn't see him in the starting lineup. And I don't know if that's a concern. I don't know if that means he was slightly injured and they felt he wasn't up for it. But I was really hopeful that we would see Rob Holding come into the squad, even if he got some minutes, because I want to see him integrate into that first team as quickly as possible. And we have missed something with that Rob Holding there. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it because there's not a lot to evaluate there. But in terms of Rob Holding, I think it's maybe a small concern that he wasn't put in and trusted by Emery in that place. But hopefully moving forwards, we will see Holding integrated back into that first team. Again, let's run back to the live chat and see what you guys are saying. Javier Diaz says, Chambers in the middle is an option, not on the right side. We were getting crushed there in the first half. Chambers' pace at right back is always going to be a problem, especially against someone like Kostic. Kostic had a really, really good game in terms of his energy and his pace. His finishing and final ball was not as good. The same with Da Costa. I said before the game that Da Costa and Kostic were going to be the two key areas that we really were going to struggle to deal with their pace and their delivery. But we were quite fortunate at some points that they failed to sort of capitalise on the chances that they did create. But Chambers' pace, we know, isn't going to be up there with the right backs that we have in the team, like Maitland-Niles and Bellerin. But I think at a centre-back role or as a CDM in that central role, he can be an effective player for this team moving forwards. Matthew says Chambers is slow. Do you really want to put him in the middle? I don't think he's anywhere near as slow as Xhaka. Chambers, I don't think I'll even describe him as slow. I just don't think against wingers and very rapid ones that emphasises and exaggerates how slow he actually might be. So I think that's maybe slightly harsh. Bukayo Saka and Martinez are great footballers, says Teja. And Danny should be in the first team, but Chambers, 28 were, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I think that might be 28, were brilliant, and I think they were good today. Ray Singh says Holding and Chambers with any other is needed. I think Chambers and Holding is a possibility for the future. We know at Arsenal that we need to strengthen at the back. We know that we need to bring someone in to add to that solidity at the back. But it is something that we could see moving forwards. If Chambers and Holding get integrated into that two centre-back pairing slot, maybe it's something that could develop, could grow, could improve. I'd like to see it happen in the cup games, definitely. Sticks says, manager still don't know what's the best centre-back pairing is. No, I agree with you. I don't think he is, but I don't think he's had all the options available to him to find out yet. M. Calorie says that I understand why Chambers was benched against Burnley, the physicality, but after that game, he should have been drafted in with Socrates because he had a great pre-season. Again, definitely agree with you there. In terms of what we're going to do with Chambers. Moving on, look at some, scroll up to see what some of you, if I've missed your comments. Carl Halberg says, I see people saying Alba should have given his goal to Pepe for confidence. That would have been a mistake. Shooting was the right action. Again, I even think that Pepe might have been slightly offside. I didn't see a replay which showed whether he was or not. And I actually think that he was holding back. He held back and held back and held back before taking that shot, because I think Pepe was slightly ahead of him. He wasn't sure if he was going to be offside, and it would have been a chance gone to waste. So I'm not too bothered about that. I thought Pepe came on and had a small impact, showed his pace, showed his dribbling again. He does need a goal, but I wouldn't be too annoyed at Alba for not giving the ball up to Pepe in that situation. Gregory says, yes, Chambers, Tierney, Holding and Bellerin as a backline could be something for the future. Matthew Hudson says, yeah, I appreciate the answer, but I find he, like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, gets beaten easily, but he is quicker than Xhaka. Definitely so. I think that Chambers can be an asset to us, and he's not exactly in his prime yet. He's still got time to develop and grow, and that's only going to come with minutes. And that really has been the struggle at Arsenal for Chambers. He's gone out on loan a few times, got a fair amount of minutes, but actually it's minutes at Arsenal which the young Englishman needs. 342474, very long and strange name, but he says Emery was awesome in playing the ball out. Leno wasn't at Watford. Who gives more confidence to defence? Actually, 74, he brings up a good point there about Emery. His deliveries and his distribution was very good. Quickly got the ball rolling to players in positions in which they weren't too much under pressure. Yes, he kicked the ball out a couple of times, and he's a bit heavy on that. And Martinez, known from watching him in the past, he does like a good kick out from the box. But for me, when we've been stuck with players kicking the ball out to opposition players to score, maybe a kick out from the back isn't always going to be too bad of a thing. Sayed says that he's worried about Pepe. I am ever increasingly going to be worried about Pepe. I mean, Kay, I think you're a bit harsh there, mate. Gervinho and Sonogo equals Pepe. I don't think that's right at all. He just needs a goal. He just needs confidence. It will come with time. He's adapting still. He's adjusting to a new team. He's only 24 years old. It will come. Don't worry. Pepe will improve. It will be there. And if it doesn't, I'll hold my hands up. But I am confident that we will see the best of Pepe 100%. Wang says if Saka can keep the ball better, hold the ball stronger, he's going to be a superstar. I think that definitely his hold-up play needs improvement. His decision-making at times, definitely. But he's 18 years old. This kid is 18 years old. And it's certainly great to see someone of that age showing how much flair he has and how much confidence he has. And his final ball will improve. His hold-up play will improve. He will grow. He will get bigger. His stature will improve. His strength will get better too. And I can't wait to see what he's going to do in this team. And I think it's going to be positive to see it going forward. Avon says that Pepe got another assist tonight. He did. He set up Saka for his goal. And that can't go understated. He saw the young guy in the middle of the park, found him, and it was a fantastic finish from the youngster. Did Pepe really get an assist on it? It says, yes, he did. He passed it to Saka for the goal, as we've already discussed. Beerus says that Xhaka was surprisingly solid. Xhaka had a good game. Last week, or not even last week, but the last show, I went in on Granit Xhaka, it's fair to say. And a lot of you said I was slightly harsh, which fair enough. I hold my hands up at times and say maybe I was a bit harsh at the time, especially when we did the podcast. Webby and John put the side of the other side across about Xhaka, and they made some very good points. But today he did well. I think you have to sit back and say that yes, his passing was good. He intercepted well. His blocks was good. His clearances were good. It wasn't really part of his game that I would have said was bad. And he actually laid the ball through a few times for some chances, especially for Saka in the first half, I believe it was. Couldn't really take advantage of it, but in that moment, he made some good passes. And I think that needs to be applauded at times. You can take the rough with the smooth, you can criticise all you like, but when someone does something good, you need to make sure you highlight that very, very obviously. However, the distance between defence and midfield was staggering. Again, Beerus making a very good point. This is something that we've seen. When we lose the ball, even though we're trying to hit teams on the counter, the gap that are left in the midfield and the gaps between that midfield and the defence are absolutely staggeringly bad. It's something that we need to work on. We need to minimise the size of the pitch by being a little bit more convoluted, a little bit more compounded. And by doing that, you will eradicate some of those issues defensively. Whether that actually gets notified by Emery and then implemented into the team is another thing. But we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Janice says that we don't have a clear left wing anyway. We don't right now, unfortunately. We have 3 players who can play there as naturals and a 4th who's good enough to play as a striker, but so good he can play there, being Aubameyang. But then it's Martinelli, Nelson and Saka, and those 3 are going to battle it out for that position. Martinelli, I think, and Nelson can also play on the right, and Martinelli has, in brief moments, and I should highlight that, can play in the middle, but that left wing role belongs to all of them. And since Iwobi has left, the route into that first team has become a lot more open. So whoever gets that, it's going to be huge. Let me know still in that chat box, do you think that Saka should be starting at the weekend against Aston Villa? Tekos Man says that in Xhaka's best game, he did, nothing. I don't think he did nothing at all. He played some really, really good balls through the defence. He found players making runs, some good clearances we've already talked about. So I think that's harsh. I was harsh on the guy at the weekend. And as I said before, if you're going to criticise someone, you have to admit when they've had a good game. And he definitely did. Cole said at half-time, the pundits criticised Saka for getting caught in 2 minds and not taking the shot on. I think he heard them. Yeah, I think he did, Cole, definitely so. But getting caught in 2 minds is something of a youngster. If you're in that role, you think that you've got this chance, right? You're in this position where you're blessed with the opportunity to play for Arsenal and you're on the ball. And sometimes being on the ball can be a really nervous thing. I remember just being at school when I got called up once for the school team. I wasn't the most amazing footballer, still not the most amazing footballer. But when I got called up to play for the school team, because there was quite a few injuries, it's fair to say, every time I got the ball, I laid it off almost immediately. Hardly wanted it. Took the ball, laid it off. Yes, quite good at ticking over and keeping the ball going and didn't lose possession. But ultimately, I didn't really try too much. And that's what separates the ordinary guy, or less than ordinary guy, from the professionals. And seeing those guys with the confidence like Saka did to take the ball forwards, really attack. And when he got to the point where he had to make a decision, that's the inexperience that showed. The point where he could lay it off, he could shoot, he could pass it, he could cross it. And he got caught in those 2 minds, as Carl brings up there. But I just think that will come in time. That decision-making will improve. You just have to look at the experience of Aubameyang in the positions that he makes. His decision-making is very, very good. He's at the peak of his powers. And I can't wait to see if Saka, when he gradually develops and hopefully stays at Arsenal, can also find that confidence and find that clear decision-making process to really improve his game. Seventh Varisha says, actually, Saka would be better than Mane. Nigeria is bigger in Senegal in very aspect of things. Whoa, I think we're getting very interesting. A little bit controversial there, Arisha. I don't think Saka's anywhere near Mane's levels right now, and I don't think it's anything to do with the nationalities whatsoever. Vincent says, Tom, let's wait to play Bellerin, Luiz, Socrates and Tierney, then Torreira and Xhaka, then Sabas, Pepe, Albert and Laka. Then we will get stronger 4-2-3-1. What are your thoughts on that? I think that Luiz and Socrates, it's a pairing that I don't want to see throughout the entire season. I think that one player that is experienced is enough, but they both have mistakes in them. And I'd like to see Rob Holding integrated. But other than that, that team there is fair enough. I think that Xhaka is going to get superseded eventually. I think that hopefully we'll see a more expansive game with the Willock coming in, with Sabas going slightly deeper. But I think there's lots of options that we can use, especially when Bellerin and Tierney come back. Some people want to see Ainsley Maitland-Niles play in the midfield role as well, like similar to Oxlade-Chamberlain does for Liverpool. And that's a possibility. He could play in that position defensively. He's now improved offensively in his crossing. And he showed that in the second goal against Watford, that he's got that to his game too. So there's plenty to think about, plenty to look at. People are saying here in the chat that Saka deserves his place in the first team against Villa. Although Moga says that Saka, he was great today, but I don't think he's ready for the Premier League. Janice says Saka should start and hopefully he grabs the chance with both hands. And Josh Gunners Forever says, how good was Willock's run? That's the only player that we've really not discussed in too much detail, and that's what I'm going to round off the show with, is Joe Willock. This kid has come on leaps and bounds at Arsenal. Didn't have the best game at the weekend, but I don't think anyone did against Watford, besides Aubameyang, of course. But he came on, he drove the ball forwards, he was good on the ball. Yes, it was a big deflection for his goal, but he took the shot and he got a goal, and that is only going to increase his confidence. He was absolutely shattered when he came off that pitch today, and it showed in his performance because he ran so much. He's got a big future ahead of him, and I can't wait to see what happens with it and how it grows. But that is where we're going to round things off. If you've enjoyed the show, please give it a like. Also, there's been a bit of an issue with the YouTube algorithms. I'm not sure why, but some people have not been getting notified about the shows. Please, in the chat box and in the comments, let me know if you've been getting notifications for the shows when they go live, because for some reason there's been a dip. I'm not sure what the dip's for, but it's there. But please let me know. Help me out. Tell me what's going on with that, and we'll try and get something sorted, because I'm really not sure why. It might be a case of unsubbing, resubbing, clicking notifications. I don't know. The best British way to solve a problem: turn it off, turn it back on again. Problem solved. I think that's maybe what we've done against Frankfurt today. We just scrapped it, turned it back on, and we got a 3-0 win. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, everyone. If you've enjoyed the show, please give it a like. Please subscribe and turn those notifications on if they're working, but I'm sure they'll get better very much soon. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. I will see you again very, very soon. We will have another Eyes of the Opposition against for the Aston Villa game. I'm talking to someone from a very good Aston Villa podcast. It's going to be for that. And if you're enjoying the quick take, which is of course the show in which we get the quick views of all the regular podcast guests on the show, that will be back as well. All of the info that you'll need ahead of the Aston Villa game, a press conference video as well. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, if I don't have too much work on, but the daily uploads are going to keep coming. So thank you ever so much, people, for tuning in. I'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.